You know you need to take care of yourself. You're tired, you're exhausted, your family and friends see it and remind you of it, but you're alone in raising your kids, your neurodiverse kids. Whether your spouse is at home, living in the home, but you're on your own, or if you're a single mom, I have 3 strategies for you today to help you be able to care for yourself and care for your kids. Hey friend, do the daily demands of family life leave you exhausted with no time for yourself? Ready to make self-care and healthy boundaries a natural part of your day, all while embracing your roles as a wife and mom? Well, I'm so glad you're here. I'm Christina, married 16 years to a neurodiverse man, mom of 3 neurodiverse kids, and many more roles. Welcome to the Moms in Neurodiverse Families podcast. Get ready to begin your self-care journey. Grab your Sante latte and listen in as we take a small step towards a healthier you. Friends, I really appreciate when you leave reviews, and I have one from a lovely woman named Tatiana, and she says, "Thank you for all your nuggets you have shared in this podcast. It's so difficult to go through the process to identify what's happening with our children. I have felt like maybe I was losing my mind when teachers looked blankly at me when I voiced my concerns. It is definitely a process. It's nice to hear your point of view and to hear how you've tackled some of these barriers. I'm excited for your next episode." Thank you so much, friend, for your review. And please, after listening to this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you could leave me a 5-star review and let me know what you are enjoying from this podcast. Well, today we're going to be talking about what if you're alone as you're caring for your neurodiverse family. Your spouse is neurodiverse himself, and his ability to support you is very limited. We could do a whole episode on reasons why a neurodiverse spouse is not as engaged in carrying the emotional and mental load of the family, but we won't go through that right now. It is a common situation in the beginning years, and unfortunately sometimes throughout the whole marriage, the neurodiverse spouse abilities to be engaged in supporting the family is limited, or it happens in peaks and flows, or they're not interested. Whatever the reason is, you're in a situation where you are alone most of the time in caring for the kids, or you're a single mom and he is not in the home and you are not caring for his needs and the kids, but you also don't have that another adult body around you to sometimes be able to help you once in a while. So these are my suggestions for when I've had moments, whether from my spouse traveling or sickness or many other reasons, when I am doing things solo. And these tips, I hope, will help you be able to care for yourself more. And that is the goal, is that if something happens to us, everything with the family goes downhill. So the first thing is, this is a very hard concept for any one of us to accept. But even though there is a need, it doesn't mean we need to meet all of them. I'm going to repeat that. Even though there is a need, that doesn't mean we need to meet all of them. When you have a neurodiverse family and kids who are neurodiverse, especially in the younger years, there is so much focus and pressure in doing all the things, all the therapies in a limited amount of time. And beyond that, already their executive functioning, depending on the age of your kids, are challenged or limited. So not only are you trying to deal with all the challenges of raising kids who are neurodiverse and also possibly dealing with a neurodiverse spouse, but their executive function skills aren't as developed. So you're also doing more of the task at home than maybe other families would be dealing with, especially if your kids are getting now into the older years. This was a very hard lesson for me to learn because I never wanted to admit that there was an endpoint, that there were limits that I had. I felt that it reflected on me as a mom, that I was some type of a failure if I could not rise up and meet to the level of the need that was being displayed in my family. But when I step back and look at it, like, this is not the typical family with typical challenges. This is not, I'm not able to keep up with the dishes and the laundry and taking my kids to the different events. This is way beyond, and not putting down those challenges for those families at all. But what my focus here is, this is not that you do not have ability. There is no one who has enough capacity to be able to carry out the levels that are needed. When I say needed, I'm putting quotation marks there, because there is this idea by experts, people who are out in the field telling you what you should be doing. And the problem is, there's experts in occupational therapy, speech therapy, ABA therapy, all the different types, vision therapy. And so if you listen to all these experts and if you do all what they say is the need, it is impossible, especially when you have more than one kid who's neurodiverse. This is a pivotal paradigm shift where we say the need is not driving what I need to be doing. Do we consider it? Yes, 100%. But if we allow the need to determine the need of our kids, even our spouses, of the family situation, and that determines exactly our agenda, we will be exhausted and run out and burnt out and have autoimmune issues. That's what the result is if you try to meet that need with no gap. So realizing that what the situation is requiring and what we feel like we need to do, there is a difference there. And it takes discernment and it takes time for us to figure out what exactly is absolutely critical. And that's the first thing here. What is absolutely critical needs to happen. No matter what, it has to happen. For example, kids have to be fed, right? We have to feed them. That is absolutely critical. And the focus should be, in your first step here, what is the bare minimum that I need to do? And this is where, as we are jotting down, I highly encourage you to get a piece of paper and write down, what is this bare minimum? And I remember having this argument with myself. And I had said, well, really, I think I can do this. I can fit in this therapy. Or really, I think I can fit in this activity. It would be so important to them, and I just don't want to miss out. When you have more than one child and you use those statements, you begin, things that really aren't bare minimum, that are not absolutely critical, get thrown back in the schedule. Let me encourage you, this is just for a time span. I'm not sure if this is going to be 6 months, if it's going to be a year. For myself, there was a couple different time spans I have done this. One time was 6 months, another time was a year. I find that there are just moments where life, it makes it very clear, we need to get down to the bare necessity of what this family needs for me to continue and for the family to continue. Let me give you an example. There was a time period when a cold and flu season going on, and within 1 week, we had the dishwasher break. We had norovirus, and then 2 of the kids had strep throat, and then the third one got pneumonia. And that was just not a fun time. So there was about 2-3 weeks of just this constant trying to keep up. So there were different ways of trying to keep up with the kids. I made elderberry, and at one point, finally, he says, I am done cleaning up all this vomit and sickness in your rooms. We just lay down a great big blanket on the living room floor. I'm like, you guys are all sleeping down here. You're all napping down here. I had stuff laid down in case they got sick, and they all were on the living room floor. And when they were awake, we played something on the TV, but otherwise they slept there. My other options were that I used to take one of those fitted sheets. I would take that, and I would, when their beds were small, I could take a big, like, queen size fitted sheet, and I could put it all over their bed, and it would go partly on the floor. That way, if they did throw up, hopefully the sheet would catch some of it. I was doing all these different tricks to try to save me time, because of cleaning the carpet is just, that's not fun at all. That began a time period with no dishwasher, sick kids, a couple of months of where I needed to just by necessity go down to the bare minimum. And one of the things I did was paper plates and paper cups. I don't have a dishwasher. I need to go this direction. When the dishwasher came back, I still did the paper plates and cups, which I absolutely hate. I am more of a natural person. I prefer to reduce the waste I'm making. I love recycling as much as I possibly can. And also I'm a natural person, as in prefer eating very healthy whole foods, especially since it impacts my kids so much. But there was a time span where I was doing more store bought items, buying stuff like Annie's mac and cheese and more hot dogs I normally would. But that was for a time span. But when I began to figure out what is the bare minimum that I need to do, and like I said, feeding's one of them. What are those bare minimum things that we need? Their education. I mean, when we really get down to it, it can get pretty small. So one of the other things I also did was downsizing activities. And I had that pressure, and I've mentioned in a previous episode, and I will link that in the show notes, but I mentioned in another episode how I felt the pressure of I lost time. My kids got diagnosed later in life. I need to make up for lost time. So we need to do everything because, again, the experts said this is what you need to do. And I did not want to be that mom who not only I advocated, but still no one would tell me my kids had this diagnosis of autism, neurodiversity. But now I don't want to be slacking because, again, these are messages we tell ourselves. So I had them in all the therapies, ran me ragged, it ran the kids ragged. So my suggestion is that, because I know once we get into therapies, it's a long way to get into them, whether it's the vision or the occupational, the feeding, speech, there's so many different types that we have out there. I suggest two options. One is pick one type of therapy that can work for all the kids and just do that. You're going there once a week. It's for an hour, maybe an hour and a half at a time, but you're just going once a week out and that's it. Another option, which is not quite as bare minimum, is if you are doing all the different therapies, cutting it down to that only one therapy per child, and you pick the most optimal therapy to produce the best results for that kid. For example, it might be doing equestrian therapy for one child, occupational therapy for another, and then speech for a third. That still has you traveling around, but each appointment probably is like 30 to 45 minutes long. So really it's the travel time that you're adding on. But there are ways that we can cut back. And maybe you can look at it and say, you know what? We've been doing so many therapies. I can't tell what progress we have made. So maybe you need to step back completely from therapies and take the summer off. My favorite time to taking off was usually from mid-November through somewhere in March, because one, holidays, two, the snow and the cold, and I just did not want to be getting up at early in the morning. I mean, the kids didn't either. So that was the time we took a break. But maybe you want to take a break and really assess. I just want to see, without us doing any of these activities, special interventions, where are our kids at? And you can get a sense of what the next direction and step is. But again, step number one, we don't need to meet all the needs, even though we feel that pressure. But what is that bare minimum? And number two, when you're doing this, you're bringing things down to the bare minimum. I want you to add one thing for yourself each day. And this one thing for yourself, it could be the same activity that you do every single day. For example, it could be that you wake up in the morning and you walk outside. At the time of this recording, it is spring. So you walk outside in the morning and you watch the sunrise and you're walking barefoot. You're feeling the grass. You're watching the sun come up. You're enjoying listening to the birds. That right there could be one thing you do for yourself every single day. If you're not an early morning person, it can be a walk in the morning. Or maybe it's getting 15 minutes of your devotion or your Bible reading time that you take. Find a small thing you can do for yourself and protect it, because life will get and try to stop you from carrying this out. And be strategic. Where do you feel, if you're a boat and there's water leaking in there, where is the biggest hole right now? What would be able to fill that biggest hole? Is it the fact that you are so exhausted because you're not getting enough sleep. So then the best thing you can do is hold a very rigid bedtime, in that you're ignoring the messes, you're ignoring getting one more task done, and you are putting yourself into bed and you are listening to a very relaxing Christian meditation app or music helping you go to sleep. That right there could be that one thing, because you're giving up some time from working to instead to get ready for bed and get to sleep on time. That would be a humongous difference for you possibly. Or it could be like you need to move your body. Like you realize, like, my goodness, like I move here and there taking care of the kids, but I'm not actually exercising. And maybe one of your kids ran away from you and then you chase them down and you realize, holy cow, I'm not as athletic as I used to be. That could be your thing, is that you're going to find 15 minutes of doing some type of like exercise in your house. And when we think about it as a 15-minute segment, I'm looking for 15 minutes for myself. That is so much easier for us to find. And the goal would be to increase it in the future. So what would be that one thing you could do for yourself? Again, one thing each day. It could be the same activity, or maybe you pick something different each day. Okay, number 3. This, I think, was just so pivotal in my life, and it continues to be, is finding an online support group. And I say online because the reality is either one, you're in an area where there is not a neurodiverse wives, moms support group near you. 2, you probably couldn't get away to it anyway. You couldn't drive off and go there because who's going to watch the kids? Because you're kind of doing this alone right now, right? That's where I have found the online support groups so phenomenal, because when you are eyeball to eyeball with other women who are in the same situation and you hear them echoing your thoughts that were in your mind in a way that's even better than you ever realized, like they're explaining the pain and the frustration that you have, that camaraderie that happens from it, there is a process that God does that's very healing in community. And I will put a link in the show notes for Christian Neurodiverse Marriages. Dr. Stephanie Holmes and her husband, Reverend Dan Holmes, they have their own different support groups, along with a great listing of other coaches who can work with you. And many of them have group coaching offerings because that is more affordable. And that is what I've really enjoyed, is that group coaching. And every season of my life, I pray and think, like, Lord, what is the right thing for me to be doing right now? Where do you want me to be focusing my time? He guides me into different directions, and oftentimes it is towards this online group. So real quick, I want to go through these 3 things again. Number 1, even though there is a need, it doesn't mean we need to meet all of them. What is that bare minimum? And at some point, we will add things back in. But for the moment, we need to cut back. Number 2, add one thing a day for yourself. 15 minutes, just 15 minutes, you're looking at somehow putting that in for yourself. And over time, our goal is to increase that. And number 3, find an online support group. Other women who are able to be with you and understand and support, like the emotional load that you're carrying, to have other women agree and understand. There's something powerful in that. And this is the reason why I am so passionate about the planner that I'm designing, is that it's a process I have gone through many, many years ago, and I still use today in meeting my need for self-care so I can take care of my family. Without using this process, I would not be where I am today. I am looking forward to the point when I'm able to release that and share with you. But until then, I'm going to keep offering all the different ideas and tips that I have, because now the level of self-care I do for myself is drastically different compared to 8-10 years ago. Completely different. Every single day, I am doing a good chunk of time for myself. I know that it's making a difference. It makes a difference in my family's life as well. So thank you for being here today. I pray and hope that you can find that one thing that you can do for yourself each day, and that over time, it gives life to you in ways you never could imagine. Hey, thank you for joining me today. I pray this episode gave you encouragement to take one small step. If so, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts to help other women find this show. By the way, if you're loving this conversation and want more encouragement like this, join my email list at bit.ly/myselfcare. That is bit.ly/myselfcare. I have a planner launching soon that will help you put all this into action in your own life. I look forward to chatting with you again next week for another episode.